Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very unique global leader with a difference from Singapore, Mr. Toilet Jack Sim. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jack is the founder of the World Toilet Organization, and today we'll talk about his journey and the World Toilet Organization. So, Jack, before we get into anything else, tell me about your journey from a school dropout to a professor to a social entrepreneur to Mr. Toilet.
So I didn't do well in school, so I went directly to do business. It saved me about 6 years of studying in university. And business was really much easier than studying. So I created 16 companies in construction, real estate, international education, manufacturing. And then when I was 40, I found that we have only 40 years more to go till 80 and die, right? So better do something more meaningful. And I searched around and found that toilets and sanitation was so neglected because nobody wants to fund it.
Right.
They that, they like green issue, blue issue, but they don't like brown issue. So, so I started the World Toilet Organization, and that's how it all happens.
Amazing, amazing. And 19th November, and it says behind you also, is World Toilet Day. How does this help in propagating sanitation?
So sanitation, toilet, poop, pee, are all embarrassing subject. But then actually we go to the toilet, we're just in a state of denial that we have nothing to do with pungent smell, right? Which we do. And because of that, we don't fund it. And so my job is to create legitimacy so that people start talking about it. And the interesting thing is that once you break the ice, they start talking about it, then it's like a spreadsheet model, right? Everybody start realizing that, we have permission to talk about it. UN World Toilet Day, 19th of November, is our founding day of the World Toilet Organization.
Okay.
So we started in 2001 on 19th of November. We declared that day World Toilet Day. And 13 years later, it was adopted unanimously by 193 countries of the UN General Assembly.
Wow.
The official World Toilet Day. Now, this official status creates a legitimacy for all the governments in the world to take action on sanitation, and the funders and everybody start paying attention because now it's legit. So that's our job. Our job is to continuously make it legit.
So, Jack, when you realized, you said when you turned 40 and you said 40 more years to live, you said that there's one area which nobody seems to want to talk about, which are toilets. Tell me about what motivated you to start the World Toilet Organization, and what were some of your challenges and learnings?
So basically, if I don't need to be funded to do the job, then I have to choose the one that is unfunded, because the ones that the agendas that are neglected are as important as the agenda that are charismatic. So the aesthetic of water is like, if you supply water, everybody knows how to use it, they love it. And so they put sanitation and park it underwater, which means it's drown underwater. Underwater means drown, right? So I say, now this doesn't work because we have millions of people dying of diarrhea every year. We have polluted river. We have a loss of tourism income. We have a loss of income whenever they are sick. And we have to solve this. And even we have a menstrual hygiene taboo also. So the idea is that find something nobody wants to do and go and do it, because that is where you are needed most. And because I'm always a joker, I think the solution is to use humor. So if you see at the back
I love that
Sing
photograph.
yeah, and then we play a pun on
Yeah.
World Trade Organization by calling ourselves the WTO. We play a pun on 007. We do with Mario. You know, it's a lot of fun. And by doing so, in the beginning, people think that's a clown. He's just trying to get attention. But I'm not trying to get attention for me. I'm trying to get attention for the mission. And eventually they say, my goodness, I didn't know this until this guy came along and cracked jokes about it. And now I know it's really serious.
How amazing. And you're dealing with something which is so normal for every single human being in this in this world.
Yes. And we go to the toilet 6 to 8 times a day. And we spend entire 3 years of our life in the toilet. And we pretend that we've never done that.
Wow.
So,
okay.
So culturally, something has to change.
Yeah.
And it's like a sex revolution. You don't talk about sex and then got a lot of problems. And now you can, right? And
Correct.
then you can use condom and all this thing because you talk about sex, right? So I think my role is to break the taboo, and I think it's been done, but then it's still, we have 2 billion people without proper sanitation, and I think the work has to continue. And the question about 80 years, you know, when you go to your country's respective statistic to say how long does a person live, in Singapore, a man lived till about 82, and the last 2 years is, you know, mostly very ill and lying on the hospital bed or walking very slowly with dementia and cataract and cancer and ulcer and arthritis and osteoporosis. Yeah. So the last 2 years is not very quality life. So in reality, we have good 80 years if we, you know, cross the street properly and don't smoke. And let's make it useful. So when I was 40, I have already spent 40 years trying to make money. I think that's not a good idea to continue making money. Better to be a useful person.
Very interesting. So, you know, when I was reading about you, I think on your website or somewhere, I saw a photograph of you with the Prime Minister of India. And I know how much importance he has given to toilets. I want to ask you, why is our toilets more important than we think?
You see, it's not a choice. You have to go to the toilet. And you have a lot of problem when you don't have a toilet or when you don't treat the sewage and it goes to pollute the river. Somebody downstream drink the water and get sick and go to the hospital. Or if it's a child below 5 years old, is very vulnerable, they die. Right? And why should people die so unnecessarily? Because we don't have proper hygiene and hand washing and toilets. So I think that these are critical issues. The other thing is that a lot of women got raped. And when they are openly defecating in the bush and other men start to attack them. So I really applaud Prime Minister Modi building this Swachh Bharat, 110 million toilets. And now the hardware is there. I think we have to train people for the software to use the toilet rather than use it as a storeroom.
Well said, well said. And yet, you know, you just mentioned, Jack, that 2 billion people may not have access to proper toilet facilities. And I know in my country for a long time, toilets were considered unhygienic to be a part of the house. My question to you is, how does culture impact building a toilet in every home?
I think that the culture came long ago from history. As technology improves, you also have to evolve. So long ago, the belief is that a toilet should be far away from the house because then the pathogens don't come to your house. Or that going to the river to defecate is okay. But you know, those days the population are so few. So if you do something like this, like defecating in the forest, it does not really spread diseases that rampantly and that fast. But today we have so many billion people, 8 billion people almost in the world. And we're living so densely together, the disease spread is very, very fast. So I think that these are the perimeters that truth are not absolute truth. Truth are proto-truth within a universe that it exists. And when that universe change, then the truth has to adapt to the new universe, which is 8 billion people. The universe long ago was 1 billion people, half billion people. So these are, we don't want to keep on doing the things when the environment has already changed.
Amazing. And which countries have done very, very well, and which countries have not done so well in the sanitation challenge?
So you see, long ago, the Japanese, they were very poor after the war. They spent 2% of their GDP on water, sanitation, and hygiene. And look at how fast they grow. And so that the people live very long life there.
Correct.
Because the people are very, very conscious of cleanliness. So the Japanese toilet technology has moved so far ahead of everybody. So this is the culture that we want to learn from. The best toilet culture in the world.
Wow.
Right? And then a lot of countries are now catching up. So OECD country, Singapore, all these are catching up, right? And then big countries like China and India, Prime Minister Modi in India is the toilet champion, and President Xi Jinping in China is a toilet champion. So the two biggest countries in the world are already having their leaders as toilet champion. And the Chinese toilet revolution is growing very fast. When I went to the, long ago, everybody says the Chinese toilet habit is horrible, which is true. And in recent 10 years, the change has been so fast that it's quite shocking to me. I go to third tier city, fourth tier city, and their tourism toilet is so clean. And so I think that is working. And then with India, Swachh Bharat, I think that's also an irreversible change. It's progressed so fast. So I think these two countries are taking good lead. In terms of Brazil, 2 years ago, we helped to lobby the change of their law to allow foreign investment in their country for sewage treatment plant. And right now, 14 million reals, a billion reals has gone into their country. So that's equivalent to like $4 billion US. And by 2035, they expected $135 billion if all sewage treatment plants are invested. So our job is to go lobby the government for policy change. And this one is really big in Brazil. I went to the Senate to explain to them in English and translate to Portuguese, and it works. So this year, World Toilet Summit will be in Nigeria, in Abuja. And we want to focus on Nigeria, which is the biggest population in Africa. But we also want to bring Pan-Africa countries to this meeting and to leave behind a legacy of solving the open defecation issue in Africa.
Wow. So moving on, Jack, tell me a little bit about the Sustainable Sanitation Alliance that you have formed and its objectives.
Sustainable Sanitation Alliance started in 2007. We know that in 2008, the UN will declare the International Year of Sanitation by Prime Minister Hashimoto of Japan. So we wanted to form a celebration committee for 1 year. Then I told them, no, this problem is not going to go away in 1 year. We have to work for a long time. So we created this Sustainable Sanitation Alliance. It's a group of researchers, mostly from universities, and it's kind of a knowledge bank, right? You go there and you learn about different professors producing different papers, and whatever you want to read about research is over there. Yeah.
Okay. And you also have a World Toilet College. Tell me a little bit about this and what are the objectives?
Now we have 6 World Toilet Colleges in
Okay.
India. This is a partnership with Reckitt Benckiser, and we call it the Harpic World Toilet College. We started at first one small one in Rishikesh in the Pamat Niketin ashram with this Chidanand Saraswati, the Swami.
Yeah.
And then after that, we set up a big one in Aurangabad.
Okay.
And then now we got the 5 other smaller ones. And I hope that we train the people to be professional cleaners. And also we don't want the sewer diver to go into the manhole and immerse themselves with shit. So we get them to train to use equipment on the ground. And so far we have trained 7,500 professional sanitation workers and placed them into full-time job. So they get a proper job, they are professional, they are respected. So this is all going on very well. Yeah.
And do you plan to take the World Toilet College to other countries as well?
Yes, we are hoping this year to go to Nigeria. Actually, it started in Singapore first. And then Singapore problem are very, very few, right? So then we became a traveling World Toilet College. We go and train people in China. And then wherever we go, we leave the locals to continue. And then in India, we work with Harpic. And now I think we can go everywhere else.
And yet, Jack, one of the questions that seems to be there in my mind is that as human beings, all of us are very conscious about our own hygiene. What is it that we forget when it comes to creating a mess, when it comes to our own toilet?
No, I think that the people, if you have toilet at home, they keep their toilet clean. It is the public toilet that they thought is not their own property. And then in this case, you need professional cleaners because a public toilet becomes dirty. After it's clean, over a period, it has to be cleaned again. You cannot expect it to be self-cleaning. So I think that those are very important. One of the things that is still very neglected is nail clippings. So as you know, if you are an anal washer, you use your fingers. And the hand washing has to be very thorough. Some people wash the hand in a few seconds. So you have to wash completely, right? But if you don't cut your fingernails, then the pathogen stays inside the nails. And then you start to prepare food and start to eat them. Although you can say that I only eat with the right hand and the left hand is for the other one, but actually you are using both hands in many cases. And therefore, cutting fingernails has to be something very important. And funnily, a nail clipper costs maybe 50 cents. But many people don't have the habit of cutting fingernails. And I went to the tribal area, rural area, and I watched with horror that the people are using the kitchen knife to slice their fingernails. I was like, what? Are you so accurate? And what about children? So I think nail clippers becomes very important as well.
There is another question, and I've been reading some articles on using water versus paper. What are your thoughts?
Of course, water is much cleaner, right? Because you can wash it almost completely. But there are certain circumstances where do you have soap to wash your hand after? Do you have enough water to wash your hands after, right? So that is critical. Did you cut your fingernails? All these are critical. Then the other one is there is a religious aspect, right? So in Hinduism, in Muslim, so water washing is very essential.
Well said.
Then the wiping of paper,
Mm.
you will never get it completely clean, right? And then you still have a disposal issue. And of course, you have to cut the wood to produce the pulp for the paper.
Correct.
Nowadays, they're moving towards bamboo, right?
Mm.
Which is more sustainable. But it's very convenient.
Mm.
If you are traveling, then paper is much more convenient than washing, because many toilets in the world don't have a tap.
Correct.
And a lot of anal washer find it very difficult.
Mm.
And so a lot of people are actually washer at home
Mm.
and wipers on traveling. Yeah.
Mm. Well said. So, time for one more question, Jack. And this is for all my viewers and listeners. Many, many people will love our conversation. What would you say are 3 hygiene lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away?
I think if we study COVID
Mm.
recently, the world shut down and it has a big economic implication.
Mm.
And that is a hygiene and sanitation issue.
Mm.
Suddenly washing hands is so important. And when did the world shut down? It shut down when 30,000 people died.
Mm.
But then toilets, millions of people die every year. Nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks, yes.
So the first important lesson I want to say is, please pay attention to sanitation and hygiene, not because that these people who die are poor people.
Mm.
That's why they neglect it. So there's this big elitism in treating diseases. Oh, diseases that kill people who are poor, no problem, let them die.
Mm.
But COVID that could kill rich and middle class, oh, that's very important.
Mm.
I think this is social injustice.
Correct.
We have to treat all diseases as important,
Yeah.
and we have to treat human being all as important.
Mm.
That's I think the very important.
Absolutely. Well said. Well
Mm.
said. Jack, on that note, and what you mentioned when we spoke, that we spent 3 years of our life in the toilet, which is such an important piece of data and quite an eye-opener that, we all tend to ignore the most normal bodily function each one of us has. But when you say 3 years of my life spent in the toilet, I think we've got to start thinking of it differently. Thank you for speaking to me, Mr. Toilet, about your incredible journey, for the amazing work you are doing, Jack, in the world. Thank you for the amazing work you're doing in my country with your World Toilet Colleges. And thank you for speaking to me at such length. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you very much. And everyone, live a purposeful life. Do something which on the last day of your life, you are going to look back and say, it was something that helps make the world better. Thank you.
Wonderful. What a great message to end on. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.